Welcome to another Caseguru Conversation, where today I'm delighted to be joined by Zohaib Hashim. Zohaib is a founder and CEO of Blackmont Legal, a boutique law firm redefining legal services with transparency and innovation to meet the dynamic needs of modern businesses. A seasoned multi-jurisdictional solicitor, he brings extensive experience in corporate M&A, IP, antitrust, corporate restructuring, and more, with a strong track record advising tech startups, creatives in film, music, and sports. Zohaib is a trusted partner in navigating complex legal landscapes. So very warm welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. I think that's probably the grandest introduction I've ever had.
Well, there we go. We aim to please. So let's get into it, because you've been doing some great work. Can you share a bit about your story of how you founded your own law firm?
Sure. So I'm a 10 years qualified lawyer. 14 years overall, but 10 years as a practicing lawyer. And I've always been in corporate and commercial law. I've done a host of in-house and private client work. And kind of the more I progressed in my career, I think there were recurring challenges that I found clients having, either for us as in-house lawyers, some of the challenges we would see working with external lawyers, or even as users of services, generally speaking. One of the biggest constraints in commercial law especially is how traditional the model is, where clients are concerned in terms of the billable structure, the hourly structure. And typically speaking, you will have two types of clients for a law firm. One will be the proactive client who will have developed a relationship with a lawyer in advance. They will have had the same lawyer for a fairly long period of time. The lawyer will understand their business. When a problem comes up, they will go to that same lawyer. That lawyer will either be able to handle the problem for them, or he won't, and he will refer them out. And then they'll generally, more often than not, trust the referral because of their trust in their existing lawyer. And then there will be the second category of client who are reactive. Something has just happened, some big emergencies potentially happened, something unforeseen. Now suddenly they need legal help, and they're stepping out. And a lot of the time what they will find is there's a barrier to entry for good legal advice. You will have very good lawyers who know they're good lawyers, and they will charge accordingly. And then you will have kind of entry-level law firms who will price themselves as entry-level law firms under the proviso that, well, fine, we're looking to pick up lower value work, but potentially have more volume of it. The disparity that then happens is clients who need that high level of expertise, but might not necessarily have the budget or the cash flow to afford it immediately, will be forced to go with the kind of more generic lawyer who might not have the knowledge or expertise that they require at that time. What inevitably happens then is they have a bad experience, and it develops this reputation of, well, lawyers are just out for our money, or they don't really care about our business. So when I founded Blackmont Legal, one of our core missions, and it is our mission statement, is to redefine legal services for modern businesses. What are modern businesses looking for? And I think kind of answering that question was the key philosophy behind setting up the firm. We couldn't decide what we wanted to do with the firm until we knew what reasonable answer we would have for that question. And I think the simplest way to define what clients are looking for, especially business clients, is they're looking for peace of mind. Yeah. Our clients are intelligent business people. Typically my standard client will be, they will have set up their own business between 5 to 10 years old. So they've been in the game for a long time. They have a turnover of 5 to 10 million pound per year. They'll have a seasoned number of employees and staff beneath them. They're already business leaders in their sphere. Given time and given kind of the patience to navigate the legal system, a lot of their problems would be solvable by themselves. But it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of patience for things that they would have to learn from scratch. It's a distraction. And I think that's really what a good lawyer should serve to be for their client. They remove the distractions. They let the client focus on their growth journey or on their targets or their achievables. And we should be supporting them with that growth. We should be supporting them with achieving those goals, and just try our best to remove some of those problems that they see from time to time. So I've been talking for a very long time, but effectively, I think that's what we're setting out to achieve for clients.
Yeah, and I love that you're mission focused. I think mission focused companies are absolutely, and firms are definitely the way to go of the future. And I love that you talk about sort of that collaboration and partnering with with your clients, and really understanding that times have changed as well. And understanding that we are modern businesses now, and the way people approach things is different. Just briefly, just tell us a bit more about the areas of law your firm specializes across the board.
Sure. So we present ourselves as a one-stop shop for business requirements. So if you have a corporate requirement, we will handle it. So predominantly, and for example, my specialty areas are commercial and corporate, so corporate restructuring, and then as a subsidiary to that practice and to augment it, I also offer employment law services, employer facing. And then we cover things like insurance and regulatory advice. I've had experience of working in the regulatory sectors as well. We cover intellectual property because for modern businesses especially, I think IP is such a fundamental core value for your business portfolio and the value that you're generating for your business. And it's generally that idea that if you've got any problem or any situation or any kind of resolution required for your business, you could come to us and we will resolve it for you. And if it means that we expand our practice a little bit to accommodate that in the future, we will do that. I've started getting a lot of queries for commercial property already. It's an area I swore I would never touch, but clients need it, so we will supply it.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? You have to listen to your clients where demand is, and try to find a way to service them ultimately to delight your clients, which I know is something you're passionate about. You've talked a little bit about some of the clients and some of the sort of figures, but is there any sort of typical clients? Who are they more broadly, so people have more of an idea that might be tuning into this that maybe could reach out to you? Who's sort of the sweet spot client?
I think any client who pitches themselves as an SME. I think my favorite clients are tech startups.
Yep.
They're visionaries who are approaching uh, the inconvenience of having to have a company to achieve their vehicle of creating something industry defining. And I say inconvenience because there's a lot of regulatory requirement around managing a company.
Yep.
Suddenly, one day you're a director, you have to understand how shareholder incentives work, how shareholding must be regulated, how to protect your equity. There will be people potentially lined up around the corner who want a share of your project in exchange for vague promises. And I think it's one of those things. Those are typically my favorite clients, the ones who are, shall we say, they don't have an established understanding of what they require. They've got a vision and a goal, and they've got that trajectory. And from my perspective, we're a young firm. We're going through the same growth pains that any young business would go through. So my ideal client is a client that's growing, and we would help them grow, and they would help us grow alongside, grow together.
And that's go as you grow, as one of my mentors said to me very early on. And yeah, I love that. And talking of tech, how has technology impacted the way you operate your law firm?
Fundamentally, we're approaching things very differently. So one of the core mantras we had is we would be competitive in terms of our pricing. How do we deliver London City quality service while being competitive on pricing? Well, we have to figure out ways to reduce overhead. So we don't need that shiny London office. We're
Yep.
fully decentralized. Everything is virtual. All of our case management systems and databases and everything are backed up and stored in the cloud. Um, Clients don't need to worry about physical files. Everything will be scanned on and provided to them. Physicals, the original copies would be sent back to them. In terms of our overheads, we just slash them right the way down. From a efficiency sake, we run at 70 to 80% in terms of cost efficiency, which means we can pass on a lot of that saving directly to our client if we don't have those unnecessary overheads. And I think there's a lot of I think negatives to the COVID period that happened, but I think one fundamental silver lining is the appreciation for video conferencing really took off.
Yep.
Clients love video conferencing. No one wants a lawyer to spend and bill you for half a day to travel out to your office to see you, or for you to lose several hours to have to attend your lawyer's offices. Instead, we have a 30-minute meeting, 45-minute meeting, whenever the client might need it. We'll slot it into their calendar. I've got clients who will, they'll be traveling. I've got a client at the moment who is setting up a new expansion in the United States. He's traveling along the East Coast. He needs a meeting urgently for us to resolve some contractual issues for a new vendor he's bringing on board. He emailed me and he said, well, look, I'm on East Coast time. Can we figure out some kind of overlap? Historically, that client would have had to come back to the UK and then figure out some time in my diary or in his diary for us to meet up and go through that contract. Now he can enjoy his time in New York, have a slice of pizza while we go through this contract together virtually.
And absolutely, and it's just a great example, isn't it? Simple example of tech for good, and actually how you can really, just give a better quality service, faster, more efficient, and be more productive and helpful for clients. So, I guess sticking with technology, then, you are also users of Caseguru. You're on Caseguru Conversation today. What's been your overall experience with Caseguru?
So we came on quite early with Caseguru. Ivan approached me very early on. I think my firm was about a month old.
Yeah.
So at the time, one of the things that I didn't know very well was marketing. I had absolutely no idea to market. And Ivan said, well, look, this is a potentially nascent market for you to join as a service provider. And I said, well, why not? Because it's a good opportunity. It's relatively young. It's a good chance to get involved at ground level on a new platform and see how it grows. It's developed tremendously since then. I think we had a lot of initial difficulties, but Ivan's been incredibly responsive in terms of kind of developing that platform, directly taking on client feedback as to what's required. Do you remember I mentioned the two types of clients? One is the preemptive client who will have the lawyer selected. The second is the reactive client. The biggest danger, the reactive client who is in an emergency situation and it just urgently needs a lawyer, is they tend to become very unselective when they choose that lawyer. They will look around. They might Google. Google has this horrible tendency to just list whoever's paid the most money for ad spend as your first search result. You will say, okay, that person looks good enough. You get on the phone. The potential lawyer will make a couple of vague promises, list a 5-figure fee in front of you, and you say, well, okay, fine. I don't have the time now to continue shopping around. Maybe I have to commit to this, and you will proceed. One of the things Caseguru does really well is it gives the client options. So the client is able to, I think, very intuitively provide a summary as to what the requirements are. And the system prompts them. So it lists a series of questions, kind of probes to get more information. And that's very helpful from a lawyer's perspective, because it helps us scope out how much work is going to be required. It's very different to just say, well, okay, this client needs a contract, but then to say, well, this client needs a contract and it needs to have exclusivity provisions and it needs to have limitation of liability concerns addressed. And it gives you a better ability to estimate then what you will say to the client in terms of time commitment required, and ultimately what you will quote to the client as your cost for your service. And then, I think Caseguru limits a maximum of 5 potential lawyers to offer their services to that client. The client has a nice, neat menu of potential lawyers to work with. They can then discreetly follow up with the ones whose perhaps quotes they find the best or most suitable. And I think very importantly, it saves the client a lot of time, because then they do not need to re-explain the case to the lawyer every time they're exploring it. So, they might meet the first one and not get the right feel for them as to someone they want to work with. But sure enough, the second one that they talk to will already have been briefed with a lot of the information. I think it gives clients a far better position when they find themselves in that kind of situation where they urgently need legal help, to be able to shop around amongst good quality lawyers.
And that's it, isn't it? I think it's the ability to give you access, and it's that access to justice gap that I know we're very sort of big on here at Caseguru as well. And I think it does a great job of that. I mean, you talked about tons of features there that Caseguru does, and it's an AI first platform. But is there a specific feature of Caseguru that stood out to you from using the platform specifically that's impressed you, or slightly different to other things that are out there?
Yeah, I thought their AI was quite intuitive. AI is a term you hear everywhere now, and I think it's especially where legal is concerned, you have to take AI with a pinch of salt, because you've probably seen some of the horror stories of AI citing false law or making it up as it goes along when giving advice. I think this is the correct way to approach AI. It acts as an assistant almost for the client, so
Yep.
it doesn't distort the facts. It takes the client's facts and presents them in a succinct fashion, which then makes it very easy for the lawyer who then looks at that summary to say, oh, okay, actually, this is a very helpful summarization of what's required. Almost like the what traditional law firms will call the pre-vetting staff. So they'll have kind of junior members of their team who are usually not lawyers, whose job will just be to vet incoming leads. They will give these potential clients a call. They will discuss the requirement with them. They'll make a quick note, and then they will forward it to a lawyer to assess, for that lawyer to decide if they'll take that case on. It saves a lot of that time and energy and labor cost, making it easier, and then it gets that out before lawyers quite quickly. So I thought I was very impressed with that. I think that's a slightly different way to do it. I've not seen anyone else do it quite that well.
Yeah, and it's definitely, front leading, isn't it, in terms
Yes.
of thinking ahead. Again, when thinking about modern service delivery, I know that's something, at Caseguru we think very hard about, in terms of not just from obviously people seeking legal services, but the legal professionals themselves. And I guess on that basis, would you recommend Caseguru to other lawyers? And if so, why?
I think so. I mean, I'm at danger of polluting my own pool of potential clients with competitors. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, we have to think about what's best for the clients.
Yeah.
And what is healthy for the clients is for there to be a good, healthy ecosphere of high quality lawyers that they then have access to. I think it levels the playing field a little bit, because you could be, a multinational law firm with a massive marketing budget that is ranked one in terms of SEO searches on Google, versus a relatively new startup, such as ourselves, for example, who don't have that kind of budget invested into Google. Now, if a client goes to Google and says, oh, I have a corporate commercial requirement for my business, I need a commercial lawyer, or I need a corporate lawyer, the first 10, 15 listings will be established practices who have spent tens of thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds in some cases, to get those coveted page one rankings.
Yep.
One of the advantages with Caseguru is that if you're as part of that smaller set of elite firms, and you have that kind of recognition by the platform as being high performers and delivering well for clients, then you will automatically be put forward to those clients without kind of fear or favor in terms of Google's fabled algorithm or anything like that. So I think it's a good thing from a lawyer's perspective, as long as you're prepared to compete.
Yeah.
If you, as a lawyer, do not want to compete, you just want to farm all the little fish, maybe it's not for you. I think it's a better platform for those who have the best interest of the client at heart and are prepared to engage with the client in that fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. And really well said. And like you said, I think, trying to level that playing field, give access to justice, and, really give people options that are hopefully good quality and affordable. We're all for that. What types of work or clients have you actually received through using Caseguru?
A surprising amount, actually. So I think predominantly we've gotten clients who are interested in contract services.
Right.
All of it has been document-based work, so kind of they've required documents to be reviewed or amended or prepared or drafted in some cases. And it seems to be very good for that. So it's acting in a way to create that first client situation where it's introducing us to a client who will then become a longer term client. And that has been the case. I think 5 of the 6 clients I've had from Caseguru have come back to us for recurring work, or just questions or potential discussions regarding how they want to address things in the future. And I think that channel is fantastic, because it's then created that relationship from our perspective. The client who had entered the market with no knowledge about a potential lawyer to work with has now found a lawyer through a platform that helped match them to that lawyer.
Yeah, and the lawyers have been pre-vetted as well. I think that's an important point
Yes.
to mention as well. So it's it's fully qualified, highly capable, high quality people on the platform. You talked about competition. In case Guru's in competition, I think the legal tech market is booming, and I think there's a real opportunity for those who get it right to do hugely successful. So, in your opinion, how does Case Guru compare to other similar platforms or traditional ways of finding legal support?
Sure. I think one thing Caseguru does slightly differently is they're working with actual qualified lawyers.
Yeah.
A lot of the tech platforms you will find, they're not regulated law firms. So they position themselves as tech firms who are specializing in supplying legal services to clients. When you go to their websites and go through the fine print, one of the things that they're obligated to say is that they're not an SRA regulated law firm. Because they're not SRA regulated, there are pretty big restrictions as to what services they can offer. Either they will be supplying their services through non-UK qualified lawyers, or if they have solicitors on record, they will tend to be consultants.
Yep.
It plays a massive impact as to the level of insurance that they can then claim against as a client. Where we're SRA regulated law firms, we are required to have professional indemnity insurance, which is governed by the Law Society and by the SRA. There's very strict requirements for that insurance, and more importantly, that insurance must pay out in the event a client has to make a relevant type of claim. So the level of protection the clients get is completely different if you use a firm that is non-regulated versus using a firm that's regulated. I think that's the key distinction that I've seen, that Caseguru is not fussed about creating solutions that are just kind of budget unqualified people looking to supply those services. I mean, you'll get that through some of those websites that generate contracts for you. You type what you need and it'll build a contract for you. Pocket Lawyer or whatever they're called. I think there's a few different ones. It's different. It's actually supplying you genuine qualified lawyers. And I think one of the key differences between just a generic off the shelf document and a lawyer having looked at that for you is the experience. It's the experience you're paying for.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? And I always say to people who are not in the legal world, just to think about it from a medical perspective, you wouldn't ask your GP to do heart surgery for you. They just wouldn't be qualified, and that's just the easiest way for people who don't quite understand when they think of contracts. Like, there are real specialists that can help you, draft things that are either going to protect you or whatever it might be. And I think you're absolutely right. I think the level of detail and particularly, like you say, professionalism that's gone into building Caseguru and working with regulated organizations should really give comfort. And I think it also comes back to the values. Again, what's important to your firm, as you mentioned, the values of kind of really being helpful for modern businesses. Caseguru's story is born from, a story of where, there wasn't the access to justice. There was the need for this. And so there's an entrepreneur who wants to go out there and create this access to justice so people can get the service that they need to help fight for whatever it might be, a personal relationship, a business relationship. And I think that's what really will set the businesses apart, that are built on good values and missions. And that's why we're really keen to have you on today and to discuss that. Do you feel overall then Caseguru adds value to your practice? And if so, what particular ways?
I think it's fantastic from a case value perspective. It's the phrase is used negatively, but it creates a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
It's symbiotic in the sense that when we thrive, Caseguru thrives, and when Caseguru thrives, we will in turn thrive as lawyers. Caseguru thriving is better for the market because it creates more options for clients. And similarly, from our perspective, it puts us before more clients and potential customers as well. So I think from my perspective, it's been fantastically helpful. The team at Caseguru have been fantastic to work with. Ivan's been incredibly helpful. He's always very keen to take feedback as well as to how we make things work. And their model is very comfortable from a law firm's perspective to work with. We engage with the client directly. The system is designed around being able to facilitate that. So we're not compromised in the way we have to go through our retainer system, for example. As lawyers, we're required to have client care and retainer letters. We might, in situation, be required to have a trust account. Caseguru facilitates all of that. We don't have to worry about a third-party escrow service. We don't have to worry about data protection issues. and things like that. All of that is factored for by making that introduction as smoothly as possible, and then just letting the lawyer and the client get on with their work without the platform intruding.
And that's what is important, isn't it? It's removing friction.
Yes.
To basically enhance and make a better quality experience all round. So I think, thank you for sharing that. But like anything, any technology, things are evolving. Amazon, a continuous improvement company, they always state, we're never sitting still. We're always thinking the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So, in terms of Caseguru, from what you've seen thus far, what improvements or additional features would you like to see?
I think they've already been making quite a few. I think I had a funny exchange of emails with Ivan the other day. We settled a case for one of our clients, and we'd had an invoice payment come in, and I said to him, "Well, look, I need to settle Caseguru's fees, but I can't find the fees that I owe you because the threads disappeared from the platform."
Yeah.
And it turned out they'd restructured a couple of things so that it wasn't visible to me at the time. So I think with any technology that's growing, there will be growing pains. I think what's important is to how acutely they're addressing them. And they seem to be on it. They seem to be jumping on things and making those changes quite rapidly. I think they've restructured the areas of law recently. Now it gives a lot more finesse in terms of the requirements of clients. And it seems to be very client experience led. And I think that's important. Making sure that ultimately the people who will most benefit from that system are the ones who it's being designed for.
Absolutely, and putting them first, and it's very intuitive, isn't it, and easy to use, and not to confuse people. Again, because if you confuse people, you lose people as well from a business development perspective as well, and lead capture. So I guess from your client's perspective, or clients that you've used who you've acquired through Caseguru, just a couple of questions. Why do you think clients prefer using Caseguru over traditional methods of finding legal help?
I think it's one of those where it's created the atmosphere for an introduction, and then it's been left to the lawyer and the client to figure it out. And Caseguru, while they will prompt you, for example, if you've received a message on the platform, it's not intrusive otherwise in terms of, hi, you need to make sure you go back and finish X, Y, and Z. It will take the information the client has provided and do the best it can with it. Sometimes the client will provide a lot of information. Sometimes the client will provide very little information. And ultimately, that's the client's prerogative. It's quite good in that sense that it's creating the best profile it can for the client's case when it presents it. And then I think beyond that, ultimately, there is a level of work that we have to do in terms of conversion as the lawyer. That's just the reality of it. These are, from the perspective of the lawyer, it's an unvetted client. We would need to go and actually convince them that our service is the thing that they require. And there's only so much help Caseguru can do in regards to that. Ultimately, then it comes to the lawyers. And as we said, the more variety of lawyers and the more competition there is on there, the more driven we will be to do well on the platform then as well.
Absolutely. And I guess the more that you embrace Caseguru as well, you build up a reputation, you get known, the word of mouth and things like that, then, inevitably more people will be coming to you as the lawyers anyway. I guess as a final question before we look to close, how do you ensure clients receive the best possible support once they find you through Caseguru?
Ultimately, we are SRA-regulated and Law Society led as a firm. So we have a very kind of strict code of conduct, and we're governed ultimately by our retainer terms and conditions and the SLAs that we've set for ourselves as a firm. I will be very honest with you. If we are not delivering high quality service for clients, they will not remain our clients for long. And if we are not creating ambassadors for our firm through those clients, it's wasted effort. If a client, if someone goes to a client and says, "Oh yeah, I heard you had so-and-so problem. Who did you use as a lawyer?" And they turn around and say, "Oh, I used Blackmont Legal, but I wouldn't recommend them." I think that's caused more harm to my firm than benefit. I think one of the missions that we take on as lawyers, especially new lawyers in the industry, is that when we're going out and performing our services, we're always acting as ambassadors for our firm. And ultimately, it is our reputation alongside the quality of our service that we're putting on the line. And of course, there's the small matter of the insurance risk if we
Yeah.
don't do a good job. But again, that's protection for the client, having that insurance in place.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's really well said, isn't it? And you know, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I think I love that you kind of touched on there and ending on around reputation, because I think everything is reputation. As my late grandfather used to say, you know, anyone could be successful. It's far harder to stay successful. Like you said, you know, you can maybe win one, but if you don't do a good enough job, you know, that reputation could potentially not be what it should. Well, look, this has been an absolute thoroughly enjoyable conversation. So thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. If people want to know more about Blackmont Legal or want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can find Zohaib Hashim on LinkedIn. I've been getting fairly popular on there. Alternatively, www.blackmontlegal.com. We're always reachable there. We've got phone lines and email details on there, so we can be contacted at any time.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being part of our Caseguru conversation today. And if you want to know more about Caseguru, please do head over to our website, or indeed follow us on our social platforms. We'd love to hear from you. And if you've got an idea about Caseguru, you've got something you would like to share, then please do get in touch. But from now, from all of us on the show, over and out.